1 out of 8 will develop a thyroid problem, and 80% of all autoimmune conditions occur in women. Why is that? That last one, 80% of all autoimmune conditions occur in women.
Yeah, so autoimmunity is a really interesting one. If you look at what an autoimmune condition is, it's the body attacking itself. And so when we look at where toxins go, we're back at the toxins. Hashimoto's. Why is the body attacking the thyroid? There's something there that needs to get out. So it's usually a toxic issue. So the body's attacking the thyroid. When we look at RA and joints, there's toxins in there, body's attacking that. So it's happening more to women, largely because, well, this could go dark real fast, but largely because we have so many influences that are affecting our hormones. So the best way I can explain this is something I call the hormonal hierarchy, where our sex hormones are going to be completely thrown off by insulin. So when you get insulin resistant, your sex hormones are off. And insulin is going to be so impacted by cortisol. So when you're stressed all the time, you're going to be insulin resistant. And when you're insulin resistant, you're going to have trouble balancing estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. But at the top of the hierarchy is oxytocin. And oxytocin is that, we're getting oxytocin right now just from connecting with each other. And it'll start to calm cortisol down. And then when it calms cortisol down, you can be more insulin sensitive. And when you can be more insulin sensitive, now your sex hormones can balance better. So we need that hierarchy as women to be in balance in order for our bodies to be in balance. But what do we have women doing right now? We have poor diet, lots of stress, and our sex hormones are way off.
Sugar.
You're going after the sugar.
Yeah.
So women are perishing within this modern world more than men. So we've got to help a woman bring back more insulin sensitivity. We got to get her doing better stress management. And when we do that, now the immune system can regulate. Now the immune system can calm down and stop being so hyperactive, attacking all the toxins that are in the body. So it's very complex.
Does that imply that women and men have a different relationship with stress?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're not, okay, so I'm gonna be as bold as to say this, and I know all my feminist women out there are not gonna like this. And I was raised by a strong woman. I am a strong woman. I've raised another strong woman. And I have to tell you that we are not meant to handle the stress loads as well as men. And that's largely because of two hormones. So estrogen makes us very outward, makes us very much an extrovert, and we can handle a lot of stress when estrogen is present in our body. But progesterone, she can't handle stress at all. So progesterone will start to diminish as cortisol goes up. I always say when cortisol goes high, progesterone becomes shy. So now the number of women since Fast Like a Girl came out that I have heard from, the 20 and 30-year-olds that have no cycle, none. That is because they're insulin resistant, they're more stressed, progesterone's not making her appearance, so there's no shed of the uterine lining. That is absolutely a stress issue. And not having a period for a woman is a major problem because that's how we detox. That's how we get these hormones out of us. So if you're not having a cycle, you're not getting rid of estrogen. You're not getting rid of so many toxins, and it's just staying inside of you. That's a major problem.
Controversial idea, but it rings true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know this because I've had women very close to me in my life talk to me about this exact thing, and specifically not having their menstrual cycle and then focusing on the stresses in their life and then
comes back.
Their menstrual cycle coming back. People very, very close to me, in fact, that I've struggled with because of this exact challenge.
Yep.
It is a controversial idea though, isn't it? It's slightly problematic as an idea. Is there any scientific basis for that idea?
Well, we know based off science that when cortisol goes up, progesterone goes down.
Cortisol is the stress hormone.
Yeah. So when you're under stress, cortisol goes up, And so if let's say it's the week before your period, that's when you're supposed to have the most amount of progesterone. If it doesn't matter if you're trying to run a marathon, doesn't matter if you have a work deadline, doesn't matter if you're skimping on sleep, as long as cortisol is going up, progesterone's not going to make her appearance. And if she doesn't make her appearance, then the uterine lining won't shed. That's been proven over and over. Every hormone expert would agree, multiple studies, but women don't realize that. So if there's ever a time to mind your stress, it's the week before your period, which is why you don't fast the week before your period, because that's a bit of a stressor. It's why you shouldn't train for, a big Spartan race or a CrossFitting event or run a marathon. You should be doing more yoga and recovery the week before your period. This is why we should prioritize sleep the week before our periods, because we don't want cortisol up. So in an interesting world, this is sort of the vision I have for women right now, is what if there is this moment where the week before our period, we have the capability of maybe not working as hard. They're like Spain, they're giving a 3-day menstrual leave to women. With no questions asked.
Before the period? Or?
Well, it's no questions asked. They anticipated it, that women would use it the first 3 days of her period, but a woman can use it anytime. I say use it the 3 days before your cycle is supposed to come.
Interesting. Have you shared this idea before publicly?
I've on several podcasts, I've talked about it. I had a great interview with Kate Northrup on my podcast, and she's an entrepreneur, and she actually maps her whole business cycle around her menstrual cycle. And so we had a beautiful conversation about this. And she said that she doesn't do as many Zoom calls. She tells her team that she's going to get off work a little bit earlier on those days. She slows everything down. Her workload goes dramatically down. And she said what ended up happening is that when her period started, her productivity went up. So see, when estrogen comes in on starting day 1, day 2 of our menstrual cycles, estrogen makes us really mentally clear, makes us very verbal. Estrogen's an incredible hormone for productivity. But if you aren't minding that back half of your cycle and you're not slowing down then you're coming into your period and you hear so many women who are like, oh, I'm cramping, I'm bleeding a lot, it's really painful. That's because you didn't mind the back half of your cycle.
And what's the sort of evolutionary basis for all of this? Why is the body doing this? Why is the body not going to give us our periods? I mean, listen, I don't have a period, but I have a version of it, right? I'm sure men have some kind of.
You guys you work off a 24-hour cycle.
Okay.
So every 15 minutes you get testosterone.
Okay.
We joke about that, right?
What do you say? You joke behind our backs.
Kind of.
What'd you say?
The joke is like, if you don't like what your husband's saying, just ask him in 15 minutes. He might say something different.
Oh, that's what you've been saying. Oh,
just letting you in on what might be going on behind the scenes.
Okay. So what is the evolutionary basis for why that is true?
So think about, let's go back to our primal days. So, testosterone is meant to have you go out and hunt. It's a very motivating, you get it every 15 minutes. So, God, this sounds, as I'm saying it sounds so sexist, but when we look at the body, this is actually how we're built. So your body was driven to go hunt and go find and go achieve. That's the number one hormone that it works off of. For the women, we are meant to be more outgoing before ovulation. Okay, why is that?
Oh.
We need to connect. We need to start to feel that mental clarity. Estrogen makes your hair really full and your skin really glow, and it starts to make us more beautiful, all leading up to ovulation. Once ovulation hits, now we have estrogen at our peak, we have a little bit of testosterone, and we have a little bit of progesterone. Okay, well, why is that? Because now our libido's up, we're motivated to reproduce, we're looking beautiful because we have so much estrogen going through our body, we're verbal, we can connect, and we have progesterone to keep us calm. So we're supposed to reproduce when ovulation hits. And then the back half, technically, we would have a fertilized egg and we would be winding down. And if we didn't get a fertilized egg, then we're supposed to relax so we can go back and do the extroverted piece of ourselves in the front half of our cycle. So it's all based off of reproduction.
So I need some advice then, because I'm in a relationship and I want to understand, I guess this goes both ways. I want my girlfriend to understand how hormones are influencing my behavior.
Yeah.
And I want to know how hormones are influencing her behavior.
Yeah.
What advice have you got for me?
Well, the first is, do you know her cycle?
Moving on, we're going to talk about sugar again.
No, this is too good.
So sugar, it's really bad, isn't it? Who's to blame?
No, seriously, no.
Tell me about your childhood.
No, get to know her cycle. I'm gonna give you gold right now. Let me give you gold. Okay, so day 1 of her cycle, day 1 to day 10, she's building estrogen. First couple of days of her cycle, just let her be. Like she's transitioning out of the back half of her cycle. She might be having some heavier bleeding. She's moving into that extroverted place. So the first 2 days, give her some space. Now day 3, estrogen's starting to build. So you're going to notice she's more verbal. She's going to be more present. She might feel more outgoing. She's going to feel like she wants to connect with you. That's going to go all the way through ovulation, like in the middle of ovulation, which is about day 12, day 13, where all of a sudden estrogen's at its peak. If you have any conflict you want to resolve with her, do it between like day 2 and day 12 of her cycle. She's going to be so ready to handle any conflict with you.
Let me write that down. Day 2 and day 12.
Day 2, like literally.
That's when I pick my battles.
I had a dad come to me and tell me that he was struggling to understand his teenage daughter. And I said, well, do you know her cycle? And he's like, no, I don't. I said, well, you would never, ever bring a conflict to her on day 18 or 19 of her cycle. Bring it to her on day 10. And now she's going to talk to you.
I'm going to say something which is really embarrassing here. I know nothing about menstrual cycles. At no point in my life did anybody teach me about menstrual cycles. The only insight I have in my life to what a menstrual cycle is overhearing my sister when I was younger talking about it.
Yeah.
And when I say overhearing, I mean maybe a sentence. And then maybe my girlfriend, once in a while, she'll say, oh, I'm coming into my cycle or whatever. She'll say I'm on my period. That's, for most men, that's in fact the extent of the education we have about the female reproductive menstrual cycles.
Yep.
So talk to me like I'm an idiot about the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
How long is it?
Oh, I love this. And do you know that most women don't know?
Oh, really?
So, I mean, most women are ignorant to their own cycles. So it's 28 days, anywhere from 28 days to 32. Every woman has a different length.
Okay. And what day does the period come on?
Day 1. So day 1 is the first day she bleeds.
Okay. Then how long? That lasts for what, 7 days?
Everyone's different, anywhere from 3 to 7 days.
Okay. So you said between day 2 and 12 is when to pick my battles?
Yes. So day 2, you're going to start to see her emerge a little more gregarious. She may be a little more outgoing. So, I mean, as she get closer to day 12, you want to go party with her, you want to take her out, make her feel good. Like, that's the time to wine and dine her.
Okay, cool. We'll put all the dates then and all the fights. And then after day 12, what am I doing?
Then after so day 12 is right when she's ovulating. So you're going to have to choose your battle there. But ovulation occurs for most women between day 10 and day 15. There's a small little 5-day window there. That's once I figured this out, I was like, why don't men know this? That's when her libido is going to be the highest.
Okay, so we're having sex.
Yes. So if you want to have sex with her.
I'm just writing this down.
Yes.
So have sex with her around that time.
If
she's willing.
She's going to be more motivated because she has testosterone. She's going to feel more like it.
Okay. Then after she finishes ovulating after day 15.
Yeah. So then there's going to be a crash of hormones. You might see a change in her personality. She might feel a little low.
Go stay in a hotel.
But you could ask,
joking.
if she's having a bummer day, or a low day, ask her, do you know what day of your cycle are you on?
Be really nice.
Be really nice.
Really nice.
And then here's the gold. Here's gold. This is so good. You're going to have to report back to me how this works.
Okay.
When around day 17 or 18, progesterone's coming in. This is where you got to give her foot rubs. You got to be extra special and cater her like she's the queen that she deserves to be.
Okay. So all my compliments, that's where I pull out the notepad.
Yes. But what you need to know is she's probably going to be like, if you're like, oh, you look so beautiful today, she might at that time be like, no, I feel horrible. I'm bloated. I don't feel beautiful. But
I should disagree. I should say, no, you don't. You look amazing. Okay, cool.
And you do that till she bleeds. And you can take amazing care of her in the week before her period, and you will get kudos like you can't even imagine.
And then start it all over again.
And then start it all over again.
Got you.
Yeah, I mean, just once you understand our patterns. And then it also helps you understand that we're going to be more outgoing in the front half of our cycle. We're going to be more introverted in the back half.
What about men?
You guys, every 15 minutes, you're pretty black and white.
Really?
Yeah, you're pretty straightforward.
So if she was asking you the same question about me, would you say anything to her about my hormone cycles at all? You just say...
It really depends on the issue at hand. So if it's a mismatch of libido, then the best time to have sex with a woman is during ovulation.
Okay.
Because she has the most amount of testosterone.
Day 10 to 15 of her cycle.
Yeah.
It would be really handy, wouldn't it, just to have a little menstrual cycle chart on the wall at home. I know that sounds a bit strange, but just so I know what's going on inside her body.
The first time I discovered this, I started using an app called the Clue app.
Yeah.
And it shows you in a circle. It kind of shows a little cloud, and then it shows you where PMS clicks in. And it actually has a button that you can share it with people in your life. And I thought, not only does my husband need this, but my staff needs this. They need to understand where I'm going. And what if all the women on my team actually shared it with each other, and we could see where each other was at in the menstrual cycle? We would understand why a woman's moods can be so up and down. It's really, because of these three hormones, our moods are much more volatile than yours. You guys are pretty steady Eddie. This is general. I hate to be sexist in this conversation, but this is hormones and the way they work.
It's actually really helpful to know this, because without this insight, it's very easy to fall into the trap of just assuming your partner is moody, or that they have like mood swings, or that they're, people say things like they're too emotional, or they're whatever it might be. But with this, I actually think it creates a ton of empathy.
Yeah.
That's certainly the reaction that I get from hearing that. There's significant hormone fluctuations in my partner, and they happen at certain periods. It actually now would change my behavior, the way that I receive certain times where I come home, or I notice that my partner's just different.
Yep.
And it catches me off guard sometimes. We've spoken a lot about this, and we're very open. We're very much the same person in terms of our willingness to talk about everything, and very difficult things as well.
Yeah.
And there will be times where I come home, or we go through a patch where just a week, things are making her upset, which wouldn't normally make her upset. Just tiny things that I'm doing. And I go, what?
That's it.
Like,
So see if you can track that to a certain part of her cycle.
Oh, I'm gonna.
So like the week before our period, we're irritable. And every time I say that, men go, well, you said it. I didn't say it. Well, but that's because progesterone, we're meant to be more inner. We're meant to sit on the couch. We're also meant, believe it or not, glucose goes higher the week before our period. So we crave carbs. There's a reason we crave carbs, because we need to bring glucose up to be able to make progesterone. So we crave carbs, we're irritable, we don't want a lot of cortisol, so generally we're a little bit slower. We don't want to, we don't have the desire to push through stress and push through exercise. And so we're different that week. So if you come up and you just put your hand on our shoulder and you're like, I love you, you're amazing, I'm here if you need anything. That's all you got to do. But if you're trying to resolve a big conflict, or you're trying to come at us in too aggressive a way, we will shut down the week before our periods.
So interesting.
Whereas if you have something you want to resolve with us, make sure estrogen's there, because estrogen makes us great our verbal skills are incredible when estrogen's around. Ask any menopausal woman, she'll tell you what it's like when she loses estrogen.
And I have to say, this is because, women have this incredible power to create life that us men don't have. Yeah. It's like women are superheroes for being able to carry a baby for significant amounts of time and then give birth to this baby. It's just the most magical thing that I can think of in existence. And women have that superpower. And with that comes this cycle.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful thing.
It's beautiful. And in the book, I called it the manifestation phase, ovulation, because when all of those hormones come in, we can manifest anything we want. But it's not just a baby. this is a great time. Ovulation is an amazing time to start a new business project.
Interesting.
It's a great time, like as an author, like I'm going to write during those 5 days because my creativity is going to be at its peak. So we're highly creative. If you want to like, you know, talk about something about life and how to create something with us, do it during ovulation.
Your husband is behind that wall here in my home. And is he aware of your menstrual cycle?
He is, until I started to lose it. I'm 53, so it's starting to go. But yeah, we talk like this all the time. And the way I like to take ownership over my hormonal moods. So I will say to him, after a long day of work, I will say, hey, it's been a testosterone-driven day for me. I don't feel like I have a lot of estrogen right now. I can't handle a lot of stress. I'm going to need to just take some time to myself. We literally talk like that.
We, losing the menstrual cycle, the first time I started as a young man that hasn't been exposed to that at any point in my sort of, in the education system or other, the first time I started to understand what menopause was and premenopause and perimenopause, all these things, was from guests that have come here.
Yeah.
And it was such a big light bulb moment for me, because I have women in my life that are going through that phase of life. And I feel like they are so misunderstood in so many ways.
Thank you.
And I love hearing about it now, because it's going to help me relate to those women in a better way and understand how I can be a partner with them through that phase of life, like, you know, certain members of my family that are going through that phase of life. What do we need to know as men, but also as women, about menopause, perimenopause, and all those things?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. I think that we're the most misunderstood age group of women, and the 45 to 55-year-old in that decade is the most common time for women to commit suicide.
Really?
Yeah. This is why my next book I'm writing right now is on the mental health of menopausal women, because we're struggling. And so the first thing you have to know is that after 40, our sex hormones start to decline. So estrogen goes up and down. So one day you're going to experience, if you live with a 43-year-old woman, you're going to experience she's great. Next day you're going to be like, who are you? That's because her estrogen is on a roller coaster ride. So that's the first thing to know. Second thing is that progesterone is plummeting after 40. They actually say now at 35, progesterone is starting to go down. So as progesterone goes down, we are less stress resilient. So little things are going to irritate us like they've never irritated us before. And you might be the recipient of that. So if you find we're very triggerable, it's because we're losing progesterone. So we just need to have more breaks. We need more nurturing, like I explained in the menstrual cycle. We need to have more love brought our way because we just can't handle stress the same way. And then as ultimately estrogen finally goes into a place where she's non-existent once a woman doesn't have her cycle, we can't hold on to information the same way we used to be able to. We forget things, and it's really frustrating to us. And so when people around us, like I went through this with my team, when I was trying to get my menopausal hormones in check, they would say, well, you already told us that. Yes, you reminded us of that. And I started finding I was repeating myself. And then I realized, oh, I'm at a new level of low of estrogen. And then I worked, working with some bioidenticals, working with some lifestyle to bring my estrogen up. But from 40 till about 55, that is about a 10 to 15 year period where the woman's brain has to recalibrate to these loss of hormones. And so our moods are all over the place during that time. So understanding where we're at, having more compassion for us, not taking us on, and just helping us understand ourselves, which is largely what I'm trying to do through my books, will be so helpful. But we don't even understand our own selves. Menopausal moods are treacherous. It's an extreme sport. It literally is an extreme sport. It's brutal.
What about after 45? She said 40 to 45.
Yeah, so once we actually go a whole year without a period, we actually do better. So the brain is used to the less hormones. So when we get on the other side postmenopausal, we actually are great. Women that once they go to that side of the hormonal process tend to actually be, we have so much wisdom, I'd like to think. We actually tend to be the opposite of everything I just said. We tend to be more stress. We can handle stress better. We tend to be more gregarious. Our libido goes back up. As our brain starts to recalibrate, we become a better version of ourselves.
And that's that first phase, that 40 to 45 phase. What's that phase called? Is that
That's perimenopause.
Perimenopause. Yeah. And then menopause is beyond 45.
Yeah, the average age for menopause right now is about 52, although a lot of women are going in around 45, sometimes earlier.
Okay.
But I think that if there was one thing I could help the world understand, is that we're trying to understand ourselves during that time. So be patient with us, because we may react much different than you've ever seen us react before. So we have to get to know ourselves from a new lens. That's the gift that menopause actually gives us. And if you allow us to do that, when we make it through to the postmenopausal years, you're going to have a beautiful, wise, wonderful woman on the other side of that. It's just that transition into perimenopause is really a treacherous one.
It's so interesting. I find it staggering that no one told me this at any point in my life.
Agreed.
Because irrespective of whether you are a woman or not, and you're going to go through that, you're going to, your relationships with women are going to be integral to your life, unavoidably. Your mother, your grandmother, your partner. So having the insight gives me the empathy.
I love it.
And that's why I'm so fortunate from having this conversation. It was Gabby Logan who came on this podcast, Davina McCall, who wrote a book about menopause in the end, and you that have really helped to open my eyes about that. And it's interesting. I don't know what it is. I think growing up, men just don't want to talk about periods and menstrual cycles and all of these kinds of things. They're almost taboo in a weird way.
I call it, in the new book I'm writing, I'm calling it the cultural hush.
Yeah.
I think we have a cultural hush around the menstrual cycle, around menopause. I can't tell you the number of men since Fast Like a Girl that has come out that read that book and they go to the chapter on women and hormones, and then they come and find me and say, I finally understand my wife.
Yeah.
I finally understand my daughter. Well, why aren't we talking about that? And then how many women we don't talk about, the fact that I'm suffering because I don't have as much estrogen. We don't have a culture or a society that allows us to talk like that. And that's what I think is shifting right now. So many menopause books are coming out. Big people, Oprah's starting to do a whole thing on menopause. The conversation's opening up, but it's going to take bravery from women to step up. I mean, I'm a very, very capable woman who has a beautiful family and a great business. It's really hard for me to say, I can't do one more Zoom call. My brain can't do it. That feels like failure. And then we have the other side of this, which is we have the men that are like, why are you being a bitch today? It's because I don't have the hormone to stop me from being a bitch today. So those kind of conversations are not happening. But if we did it with more empathy, if we could express ourselves hey, I need a break right now. It's just a lot on my hormones. Give me 30 minutes, give me an hour. I can come back and be a better version. I just need to take care of myself now.